Hey, I'm Kiralee. I'm a filmmaker and youth facilitator, and I'm here to teach you some tips and tricks for filming your own content at home. For this video, I'm going to assume that you already know what you're filming, whether that's a workshop, a performance, a tutorial, if you're going to sing, paint, dance, whatever it might be. Hopefully you already know that. So the first step is to figure out what you're going to say. This might mean coming up with a script or even just some dot points that you can follow as you film. If you do write a script, try not to read from it. That can be super distracting to whoever's watching you. If you can, break that script down into subheadings or into dot points that you can follow and try to speak from experience as much as possible. Even if you're performing rather than talking, it's still a good idea to think about what you're going to say once you hit that record button so that you know how to introduce yourself. Think about what you might need while you're filming as well, what tools, what props, things like that. If you're going to make a video teaching people how to write music, then maybe you want to have your guitar on standby. You also want to make sure that you're framing up for these things. So if you are going to have a guitar in frame, you want to make sure that it does actually fit into the frame with you and that we can see everything we need to see. Try to set up in a way that makes you feel comfortable. I know that some setups are going to be more complicated than others depending on what you're demonstrating. However, so long as you're always facing the camera when you deliver your dialogue and you're not blocking anything really important behind you, you should be fine. If you're filming outside, try not to film in direct sunlight like this. It's super glary, it's super ugly, and it's so hard to control. If you can, face your back to the sun. It's slightly better. However, even better than this is to film in complete shade. So if I head over here, we've got complete shade now, and it's just a lot better and a lot easier to control. If you are filming indoors, have a think about the kind of light you have available to you. Try not to film with your back to a window or you can end up really silhouetted, and that's not good. Also have a think about the other kinds of lights you have available. Things like fairy lights, lamps, overhead lights can all add brightness to the space, and at the very least, they'll add some texture to your frame. Right now, I'm filming with a window in front of me. There's a sheer curtain in front of it, which is bringing in some soft light from outside, and behind me, I have a lamp and some fairy lights, adding a bit of texture to the background. Have a think about your background as well, and I don't just mean try and make it look pretty. I'm talking about if you found a really nice window to film in front of, but behind you, you have a full view of the bathroom, that's maybe not the right spot for you to be filming in. Once you've found a nice private spot, it's well lit and it's quiet, then you can go ahead and try and decorate that background if you would like to. To set up your camera, we have a few options. If you're filming on a camera, then maybe you have a tripod, and I'm going to assume that you know how to set that up. If you don't have a tripod, what you can do is try setting your camera up on a stack of books, on some tables, on boxes, whatever you can find. It just needs to be stable and it needs to be at around eye level with you. This is the same process for a phone. However, with a phone, you also need to find something to lean your phone against. But today, because I'm trying to make this nice and simple, I am filming on my phone rather than one of my cameras. So what I've done today is I've stacked my phone up on a stack of books, and there is a pencil case sitting behind the phone. Before you start recording, you want to have a think about your framing as well. I know I said earlier if you have a prop or a tool such as a guitar that you may want to frame around that, and that's totally valid. If it's just you talking to camera though, have a think about where you're sitting in relation to the camera. You don't want to be too close, that's super weird. And you don't want to be too far away either, because that's weird too. Ideally, you want to be framed in a sort of mid-shot. This means you're getting from around your chest to the top of your head. When you're ready to film, you should always do a test recording first. This can just be a couple of minutes of your dialogue. It's a really good opportunity to rehearse some of your script. It also gives you a chance to play it back, and when you play it back, you should be looking to see if the light looks okay, if the audio levels are okay, if there's anything distracting happening, and if you're in focus or not. Once you've ticked all those boxes and you're happy with your frame, you can hit that record button. See how it goes, and remember that if you don't like a take, you can always redo it. Finally, some tips for presenting to camera. First important one, remember to breathe. We want to hear what you have to say. If you rush through it too quickly, we may not get the chance to. Try to take things at your own pace as much as you can. If you need to take a break at any stage, catch your breath, have a drink of water, whatever it might be, that's totally fine. No one's going to care so much that you stopped for a couple of seconds. However, if you do need to leave the frame, please announce that. Don't just get up and leave. If you do leave the frame for a substantial amount of time as well, think about dragging that footage into a program such as iMovie and cutting that section out. And lastly, try and be yourself. I know that sounds silly, but the longer you spend in front of the camera and in this space, the more comfortable you're going to get and the more natural that dialogue is going to sound. This goes back to that trying not to read off of a script. If you read out of a script, it's going to start to sound a little bit clunky, whereas if you just talk from your own head, if you talk from experience, hopefully some of that genuine discussion comes across, and that can really help. Remember that you are speaking from experience, and the people watching this video want to go on this journey with you. So the more genuine you can be in your dialogue, the easier it's going to be to get those points across to them. I can't wait to see what you make. Happy filming!